back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the USFL podcast. I'm the ref representing Pro Football Newsroom, the number one source in alternative football news. And it's a good week. It's a great week. But you know what? It's not a very big news week. But I'm joined, as always, by my friend, Zach Kyleman from the Gridiron Gallery. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. A little calm after the storm, but you know what? Things have been pretty smooth. I'm happy to get whatever tidbits we can. You know, life's good. Life's good. You and I are both, funny enough, embracing the same thing with cold snowstorms right now. Somehow, between Indianapolis and Texas, we both have to deal with similar conditions. I don't understand it. It seems like once a year, somehow both sides of the country just get whacked.
It's a damn shame, I'll tell you. Again, I grew up in Detroit, but that was ages ago after living in Arizona for 10 years. I'll tell you, my blood has thinned out enough to where it's never thickening up again. I get cold at between 60 and 70 degrees. It's under 30 degrees here in Texas. Red alert! Red alert! I'll tell you, actually, before we jump into this, so my wife and I tried to start our first fire in our fireplace today. And I thought we had the vent open. We did not. And this is a warning to everybody. Smoke will fill your house very fast. It was almost instantaneous, but we're safe. We're here. We're recording. The fire's not going. We tried. We gave up. Whatever.
I said I got to call you out. Rookie mistake, my friend. Although, hey, I get it. It's not always. You don't always need the fire down there indoors, so I can't hold you back. But rookie mistake, nonetheless. Jesus, hopefully not too much into smoke into the lungs there. You know, that stuff can hurt you.
I mean, it's a little fun. No worse for my wear. But, I'll tell you, I've never owned a fireplace before. I knew to open the vent. I just didn't know how to. I thought it was open. That's all I can say. I thought it was open. You know the ins and outs of it.
Lesson learned.
So anyway, I think this is a good way to transition. If you like that story and many more, make sure you're following us over on social media. You can get us over at USFL Podcast at Facebook, Twitter, where else? We're everywhere. YouTube as well. Make sure you follow us personally. The ref says at Zach Kyleman and at Grid Gallery Pod over on Twitter. We're always dropping good stories, always having a lot of fun. And here's the real deal. If you follow us, especially on YouTube, if that button is red, make sure you click it and click the bell. It builds morale. And there's a good reason why. And you know the reason, Zach.
I do.
You're following us, there's a chance that you could win some XFL swag and 2 tickets to that opening game in Birmingham, which, if you're going to be there, you got to join us at Spring Stock, the USFL podcast tailgate party, and it's going to be big. But here's the deal with the giveaway before we jump into that. 500 subs. Once we get to 500 subs here on YouTube, and we're over 335 now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's climbing.
People have been signing on up. It's been great.
So, I mean, get in where you fit in, hit that button, click the bell. It builds morale. You might win a hat or a T-shirt of your choosing from the USFL shop along with 2 tickets to that opening game. Now, Spring Stock. Let's talk about that real quick before we get into the real news here. Spring Stock. People might say, what the heck is a Spring Stock? Well, that's why you should be listening to the podcast, my friend. Spring Stock is, like I mentioned, the USFL podcast. It's presented by USFL Podcast as well as USFL Newsroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be a good time. Zach's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Tron Hawkins from This Is the USFL Podcast is going to be there. Jim Marnier. This is going to be a running topic this episode, I feel. But anyway,
I do enough content with him outside. It's off my head at this point.
This is why I always say J-Dash. But he's going to be there.
Well, he'll be there too. He's going to bring some stuff.
Which, if you're listening, he has a new podcast, Controlling the Chaos, with his old friend Carlos, the movie wrestling movie guy. I'm sorry, Carlos. Give him a chance. It's been a while since they've been on. You might remember him from the XF podcast or the XFL Newsroom Unhinged, or the Unhinged. The dude's a man of many podcasts, so definitely give him a shout.
Oh, yes.
He's going to be there. We heard that the End Zone's going to be there. I'll be much nicer this time. We'll find you. He's going to be there. I'm trying to think. I know there's going to be a bunch of people there, so if I missed your name, let us know. But here's the real deal. We're going to have a link down in the description here. If you want to sign up for anything, if you want to donate any time, services, we're going to hook you up. We'll get you a hat, shirt, maybe some extra stuff. But we're looking for tables. We're looking for chairs. We're looking for speakers, grills, those types of things. So we have a sign-up sheet. Fill it out. We'll contact you, and we'll make it happen. Like I said, we'll hook you up. Things to look forward to, food, drinks. I don't know, probably not alcohol.
A live show. I mean,
man, you're stealing my thunder here. But yes, the live podcast. I mean, that's the big one here. Real quick on the drinks. I don't know the alcohol thing. I'm not from Alabama. I will say this. I don't want to be responsible for carding people. So what I'm thinking is a BYOB situation, but then we'll serve like pop or soda, as you guys probably call it.
Yeah, details as we get near. I mean, we're still, honestly, I have one thing. I've had the luxury of talking with those in our Facebook group, some of those that listen to our show, and I'm starting to get into digging in, like, hey, where do you tailgate? And that's already been a discussion in its own. So we're getting details. We're still a little ways out, but we'll give you more clarity as we move forward, especially like stuff like that. I mean, trust me, we want to have a good event, but we don't want it to go off. We don't want off the rails.
Exactly.
We want it to be a good quality content creators, football fans event that celebrates the spring football fandom that we have built in the recent years. That's what we're doing.
There's a no haters allowed policy. Only fun times, only good times. Sign you up. We'll be dropping more details on the show. Stay tuned over to USFLcast.com. We'll probably put updates there. And, of course, like we mentioned, USFL Podcast on Twitter is probably the big one. Twitter and Facebook. Instagram, yes. I mean, come on, man. We'll get there. But the Twitter, that's where you can ensure that the news is always going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we talked about the socials. We talked about the giveaway. We talked about spring stock. I think it's about time that we jump into the news.
Let's do it.
So the first story up here, this is kind of a big one. So last week we talked about the final 2 head coaches to be announced. That meant we know all 8 head coaches. Now, I really didn't know when to expect when we might start seeing some of those coaching staffs, but it seems like the wait wasn't very long. So we had Bart Andrus, head coach of the Stars. He joined the Dan Celio show, which, if you didn't know, played for the original XFL in 2001. And The Rock in Miami. So he's got his connections to that spring football, but he had Bart Andrus on. And you know what? We've talked about this in the last few weeks. It seems like these podcasts, these interviews are where we're getting the real juicy stuff. But we get our first look at some of the coaching staff, at least for the Stars. So this is the first one. So I'm going to run through some of the names. We're going to do our best here. So we have Brad Miller. That's the easy one. Jeff Jagodzinski.
Yes, Jeff Jagodzinski.
So I told you earlier, I felt like this is going to be a running gimmick, and it's not a gimmick. It's just I have mush mouth. Martin Bayless and Marcel
Belfay.
Yes. God, everything in me wanted to say Belfue.
I know.
I apologize if you're listening.
We did all this show prep for the names, and it was still going to come up. Like, of course. Anyway, names aside, I mean, let's just talk about these people here for the first off, because Bart was kind of like First off, one thing Bart implied on the Dan Celio show is that there already are pieces being put in. He already was saying like all my staff's in, they're just going through HR. Might be implying that, and I know that you could borderline speculation zone this, but it sounds like coaching staffs are kind of getting finalized as we talk. And if they aren't, that pieces are almost done. Like he basically stressed that during that interview, was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting for these people to get their paperwork, and then we can really like fully hit the ground running officially.
Right. Which is a good point to bring up. So don't bring out the pitchforks and fire if any of these guys don't end up on the list. So as we understand, these aren't final. They're still going through the HR motions, but we can assume probably everybody on this list, if not most, are going to make the cut.
Yeah.
But leave some room in there if they get another offer or who knows what happens. But from what we know,
go Gene Chizik on us.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry, back to you. I've been around the block. I've been on the internet a long time, my friend. I can feel the heat.
but you don't. That's the thing. You never know. Like the opportunities that can be present, can show up. That's the thing. Now, credit some of the guys that he did mention here. They are kind of cycling back around or have been in these rings to where it makes sense why they're back. For example, Martin Bayless, his last 2 stints, Birmingham Iron in 2019. XFL's Los Angeles Wildcats. People, like, as soon as that clip came out, like those that were in the know that just instantly have been that into the names in the XFL, they're like, oh yeah, Martin Bayless, he was with the Wildcats already. Like I get it. Like he already has this spring league experience, much like how Bart Andrus was hired because he's been doing this for several years, which he implies on that interview, by the way, as one of the reasons why he took it is because he's in that scene. So this guy's already been around. Or we're talking like another one, for example, with we're talking Marcel Belfay, who already was a head coach for the Hamilton Tiger Cats during his time that Andrus was with the Argonauts as well. So those two already had a connection. He actually brought that up in the show as well as something else. So you get that experience too. Jeff Jasinski. Talk about someone that is recently just been in the scene. Last year's with the Warclaw Panthers across the globe. But again, another league. We're talking about guys that you're finding raw talent to grab, pluck, and play. And the Panthers are one of the most quality organizations in the international scene. Even before the ELF, they were dominating in Poland. And they almost went to championship as a Polish team, which people didn't see that going. So the backgrounds are there. Right. Is what I'm trying to imply.
Well, absolutely. When you look at this list of guys and all of their history and experience, I mean, we're talking everything from the college level, NFL, and everything in between. Like you mentioned, we have ELF. We also have NFL Europe experience with Martin Bayless. NFL, Your Call Football, which is interesting to see, right? I don't know if you remember Your Call Football, but that was
I forgot.
It was like the precursor to the FCF, and the XFL did some work with them in the lead up to 2020. We have a lot of CFL experience, a lot of college experience, and so like UFL experience with Marcel Belfay. With the Omaha Nighthawks. And I was surprised at how many people called that out online. There was a lot of people that were supporting that Nighthawks, which
they were one of the most popular UFL, arguably the most popular UFL team. Like Omaha was a great market. When people bring up Omaha as an option for like spring leagues, or alternative leagues, it's because of the Nighthawks and how well they did in the UFL, which for those that followed the UFL, like if we talk about attendance numbers, a lot of those teams were abysmal. But like the Nighthawks, credit their stadium situation, but still they brought in the numbers. They were respected. Like that's like one of those teams you pluck and you're like, if I could bring them back,
right?
You bring them back.
Right. I mean, Omaha makes sense. I mean, there's a few of those places. I mean, there's not much to do, and if you keep it affordable, I get the reasons why. I get the argument for both sides of it. So. But I mean, they kind of made their point with the UFL. But as you mentioned, it wasn't the same outside of that team and the rest of the league. And when you have that type of situation, you kind of get the result that we're seeing now. But anyway, we're getting off subject. What I'm loving to see here is beyond the coaches, right? Beyond the head coaches having kind of a vast array of experience, we're now seeing it, at least in our first go ahead at the staff, coaching staffs, right? And with the first one out, like you mentioned before, it kind of gives me the impression that the wheel's moving, and then we're going to see more of this type of news in the near future. Realistically, I would think that we're probably going to hear more of this stuff before the players' selection meeting on the 22nd and 23rd. Maybe not all of them, but I guarantee you we're going to see more. Not guarantee. I think we'll see more of this before the 22nd.
Well, okay, so perfect timing for bringing that up. We're glad you brought it up because, with USFL, something we're just used to is like, what they want to reveal. Or, we hope that you just get another podcast that happens to get someone and then they spill some of the tea and then you get another nugget. So the league has to be wanting to do this. I think they will, if it's finalized, I think that they will do that. I think that's not unreasonable. I think people want to know these coaching staffs, I know there's people right now that are wanting, I want to know the player pool. I want to know all the 3,000 plus players that have gone in. I'm like, hey, I'm with you. But I guess they don't want to do that yet because maybe their thought is, let's draft these guys / select the players. I know it's the naming. Get those up, then put the roster in, something along that line is how I see it. So I think the coaches are going to be shown I think it will happen. They're going to adjust the web page to have them up. You can check them out. Almost every football league that is in existence will list off the staff to some degree, or if at least the main components. I know the TSL didn't, but I think that they will.
They did.
They list off the head coaches. Do they list off the coordinators on there?
They did. At least for that last season. I don't know if they did it on their website, but they posted them on social media.
I take them back. Then that was going to be the one example, but it is not. Otherwise, then that sticks to my point. Every one of these leagues will always eventually list off the entire roster. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get it. I think it's reasonable to say that you should have it fully set by the time you get your entire draft list together. And that's within 3 weeks now.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting
time's
there.
Moving,
So, it's funny too. Well, and even like looking back at the XFL, trying to gauge like different timelines, right? You mentioned there's a lot of people online. Where is the draft pool? Where's the draft pool? The XFL didn't release theirs until the week of or the week before. It wasn't like, and I mean, I very well could see the USFL not releasing it at all. Realistically, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but when there's contracts involved, we don't know what's in the contract. We don't know, like, for instance, if somebody's in a player pool and, I don't know, the Green Bay Packers need somebody for a practice squad and they say, oh, crap, that guy might not be here in a week. Mm-hmm. Let's scoop that guy. And you might shoot yourself in the foot. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the contracts. And I don't know if it's a full, if you sign this contract, you must play for us this year before the draft, right? So there may be some reasons, and there probably is some other reasons that we're not mentioning here, but don't be surprised if we don't see one. That being said, I think after the draft or player selection or whatever you want to call it, I think absolutely the league is going to release the rosters per team. The spring league did it, right? And
yeah,
if the spring league did it, I think they will do it.
The baseline of like doing the stuff you need to do to run a full league. And, they're kind of the concept that birthed this, I know it's still a discussion point, but nonetheless, like they did it. So thus you expect that's the bar. Like the TSL to me comes off as like, now when you look back at it, it's like, this is what the bare minimum should be.
I always said, yeah.
If the bar's below that, then I have questions.
So to me, I always looked at the spring league, especially. I always looked at it as Fox testing the waters, saying, if we put football on TV and tell nobody about it, and don't give the teams locations, and for most of the games we don't even sell tickets, how many people are going to tune in? And how much, God, there was another one there. How many people, basically, how many people are going to tune in? Oh, and how much money they're going to lose. Like, what is the worst case scenario, right? How much money could they put into it and make zero profit back? And I mean, when you look
how far are we sinking this is exactly the frickin' point.
Right? and I mean, you look at some of those spring league games last year, the ones on Fox a couple of them pulled in over 1 million people. And again, with no advertising. The USFL, and again, this kind of goes to that line of, oh, the USFL is just a spring league with a new name. No, my friend. No. And for one reason alone, did the spring league get any mentions during the NFL, any NFL coverage?
Not that I am aware of. At least I don't remember any.
No,
I can't think of a single time. That's the thing. It's known. It's out there. People know it exists in the coaching circles, but you won't find the spring league being mentioned in video or in NFL Network. Like, it's not going to come offhand,
right? And then happen. You compare that to the USFL, where again, starting at the last Thursday night football broadcast of the year for Fox. Ever since then, we've been seeing them drop promos, which kind of leads us to a fun story, right? We got a new USFL promo. So as I mentioned, we've been seeing new promos. So this would be the 6th promo to date. We have 5 10-second promos. Yes, 5 10-second promos.
I think that's right.
And then this is the first 30-second promo. So here's what I want to do, Zach. Here's what I want to do. I want to actually air the promo real quick.
Okay.
Just let the fans, just in case you've been living under a rock, you didn't watch it yet, tune in. So we're going to switch over to that right now. We'll be right back.
Listen, guys, our numbers are down. I am really concerned with that.
We had that meeting on Tuesday, and again, I'm sorry to say, it was still...
Yeah, I'll take the red snapper, 37 on 2.
We're going to go goal line. Do the X39, 3 disaster.
Tonight's special is going to be an oven-baked salmon and a 32 sweep reverse with the X disaster.
You're going to get steak, right?
Yeah. Need more football? USFL launches this April.
Dude, so, I mean, that was pretty flippin' awesome. Like I said, first 30-second promo on Fox during the NFC Championship. Now, there's a couple interesting things going on here. So first, we have the guy, it looks like he's in a business meeting. He starts daydreaming, kind of like you and I do probably when we're out doing boring things, maybe going to have dinner with the wife and, whatever. She can't hear me anyway, so I'm lucky. Hopefully I don't listen to this one. So anyway, this guy, he starts daydreaming about football. Now, if you ask me, the coolest part's when they get to the kitchen. Am I right?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a few reasons why when you see the kitchen shot and the chefs turning into, football players, and then you see the Gamblers logo on the helmet and the jerseys. And what was even better is that the Twitter account for the Gamblers said jerseys with the eyeball emoji. Now, sure, you can take it as you will, but does that not imply that that's what the design technically will look like? At least the away design, it looks like an away design. It doesn't look like a home design. At least sans a few logos, maybe on there, like the league's logo or maybe a captain's patch if they do something like that. The whole ad was, it's the best production to date. Like, there's no questioning about it. Like, they've only had the 10-second ads that have been teaser pop type of stuff, but like the best part about it was you didn't know it was a football ad until you got way through. And I sat there watching the championships. This is my experience with it. I'll just go. I'm with my mom. My dad goes to the bathroom. He's been waiting all day to see this because I've been hyping him up about the promo. I'm not joking. I'm like, there's going to be a promo today. It's going to play. It's going to be a new thing. You got to watch. He goes to the restroom. Sure enough, comes on. I'm thinking this is like some banking ad or whatever because it's in a restaurant. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll have the steak or something. And then all of a sudden you start seeing the cue cards. And then you're like, oh boy, this has to be it. And it clicks. Restaurant, which was the name that was dropped, hinted to us by the source that we referenced on our Twitter feed.
That's why you should be checking in us out all the time.
Which you should. USFL Newsroom, at least you should be following that one to get that drop and hear about it. But we were hinted that, and that's the implication. It's because it's a restaurant-themed ad. It was good.
I loved it. Now, it is interesting. So this reminds me of one of those first early promos where we got a shot of the ball. And again, at the time, people were saying, is that going to be the game ball? Is that a mock-up? And again, after the event, the big week in Birmingham, where they had those same, again, prototype balls, seemingly confirms it. Now, this could be kind of some A/B testing, gauging the reactions of the jerseys and seeing what are the things people like, what are the things that people don't like to maybe make those adjustments. But I think more or less that's what we're going to get, and especially because of what you mentioned. Had the Gamblers account not acknowledged it at all, maybe not.
Sure.
Since they acknowledged it, I'm going to say there's probably something there. It's not the final. There's no manufacturer. There's none of that. But it's definitely a mock-up of a representation of what we're going to see or something close to it.
Okay, big question here because this came up when that promo dropped too. Do you want the original OG Gambler stripes on the helmet? Because the way that they had it, it was a fully black helmet, no extra things besides the classic G with the Texas logo in the middle. Do you want, like, if you look back right now and you go and look at type up 1984 Jim Kelly USFL, you look at that photo and his helmet, it's a red stripe in the middle with 2 white stripes on the outside.
Right.
That's the look. The other one looked plain Jane. I like the one from the 80s. If I were to be,
I'm with
like,
you.
if I were getting fan feedback, I'd be like, yeah, if you can add that back, that would look nicer. It actually looks better as a uniform because that looks almost too plain.
I'm with you there. But I like extra jazz and what do they call it? They're in that movie Office Space with the you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we're gonna lose.
Yeah,
whatever. You know what I'm
Darn it.
talking about at home. The character, the stuff, the things that you put on you. I like that. Not pizzazz. I was so close. Anyway,
I mean,
flair.
it isn't really.
Flair. It's flair.
Flair.
I like
Flair.
the flair. So sign us up. Hey, if you guys are listening over at the USFL, hey, you know what? I'll put $5 in the GoFundMe if we can get some extra stripes on those helmets. That's all.
I'll buy
say.
the tape.
Yeah,
I'll put it.
There you
We'll put
go.
it in the fund right now. We'll buy the tape for you.
Sign us up.
I like you're talking. It's probably somewhat of an early-ish mock-up. Like I think it is the base design. Again, the account essentially said along that lines itself. They didn't have to tweet anything, and it's not like there's really many people running that account right now. There's still, as of past week and a half, they're still hiring people to go down there. So, they purposely did that to add a little extra oomph to that post
For sure.
and so that means now we have 3 helmets confirmed. I mean, I know that someone's like, but the Gambler's helmet. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's me just stepping on a landmine. It was going to be confirmed, but we have 3 helmets now fully confirmed. 2 of them that are new designs. So you can do that. And we have at least 1 jersey that is semi confirmed to be part of it, whether it's a home or away, which we haven't even gotten that part is like, do we have home and away jerseys? Do we do a single one since it's a hub? We're still waiting on that.
I know. I'm excited to see that, and I'm curious to see that too, because we talked about this in an earlier episode with the amount of red, how they're going to flesh that out. So if they don't have home and away,
It's a balancing act.
it is going to be a balancing act or some confusing games. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I'll say this though. I've never been so excited for an advertisement.
even the XFL.
Right. But,
Wow.
I mean, so when you look at this, though, we're excited. We were anticipating a promo, but we're like 2 guys out of how many? Over 50 million. 50 million people not only saw a promo for the USFL, but the first 30-second promo, the first time that maybe the jersey has been shown.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge exposure for the league. And then I'm sure a lot of you guys out there will remember this name, Connor Folk, longtime spring football reporter. He pontificated online. He tagged a couple of the execs over at Fox and said, hey, we've seen a lot of ads. We've seen some promos during Fox. Are we going to see any on NBC? And he's specifically talking about the Super Bowl. But we did get a response. I was actually surprised.
Yeah.
Robert Gottlieb, EVP of marketing over there at Fox Sports, he responded essentially saying, stay tuned this Sunday to the Clash at the Coliseum, the NASCAR racing event. Now, to me, that's huge because we're doing a couple things. One, we're deviating out of football. We're hitting a whole new market here, right? Yes, there's a lot of overlap between football and NASCAR. Don't get me wrong. There is people that watch NASCAR that don't watch football or don't regularly watch it or for whatever reason that are going to see this promo. Maybe it's a way to bring them back. Maybe it's a young kid. I mean, looking at why the CFL isn't as successful as the NFL now in their home country, it's all because they don't target the youth, right? And not to say
it's definitely one of the arguments to that point.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's
I'll
100%, but it's a big part of it, I would say. Now, NASCAR, to me, there are a lot of children that watch it. It's kind of like the groups like me and children. I look at it like professional wrestling, where you have kind of like
just about to say that
and kids. That's it.
That is the exact vibe anymore. I get is like you get that middle group or the young ones coming in because the cars.
Right. So I mean, this is a great opportunity for them. And then again, this is a big race. I mean, I like NASCAR. I don't tune into every race. This was one I was already planning on tuning into just for the wackiness of the Coliseum. A quarter-mile track, dude. Quarter-mile track. I mean, I got to watch that. Somebody brought this up online. I wish I knew so I could credit them, but somebody posted in the comment on Twitter, where are they going to put the pit stops? Like,
Right.
now I am super curious to see how this is laid out, because that's a tight area, man.
I have looked so much into this event because I'm one of those people that I used to love NASCAR more than I do now. I'm actually getting more into it because of stuff like this. The Clash is getting a lot of hype, and Fox is pumping this thing up. If it is on a regular basis right now, any NFL related, sports related content, they are putting promos in like crazy. And this is coming from a guy that works at a TV station and helps manage Fox stations. They are pumping this thing the hell up. So they want people in. How many people it gets, I don't know, but it's a unique event. It's the first NASCAR event in a while. So you can argue that it'll get that early season viewership, not Daytona viewership. That's a completely different story. But the curiosity that people have, I think, just to see what this thing is, because it's built in a football coliseum. Right. They basically took asphalt. They went around it in rings, covered the entire infield in asphalt, painted it, and said, oh yeah, we got a NASCAR track in here, and we're going to run it like dirt track heat races. I know this isn't even football related, but that's the deal. Right. The curiosity aspect of this is what's going to bring people in.
For sure.
So this is the part I'm asking now is, damn, we're getting a new ad then too? So are we getting another 30-second? Speculation zone, baby. So, here we go.
Yes.
Revving the engine.
Are we going to get a new ad? I mean, I will say this. I think so. And I only think so because we got one of the Fox executives kind of hinting us towards, hey, you should watch this. Maybe we will see the same ones. So there's no guarantee here. But if I had to guess, I would say yes. Now, what do you think? New one or not?
Ooh, I'm leaning towards that they will. I'm going to lean towards that they are going to do it. Just because of the way that it was implied. I'm going back to Connor Folk, kind of trying to get some info on there, which, by the way, Connor, if you listen in, glad to see you back on and getting it and asking around again. Cause loved having you on the XFL times back in 2020. Just the way that, okay, here it is. I had to pull it up while I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. So Robert's exact words are this, Robert Gottlieb, I'm going to say that if I said that wrong, I will correct it.
That's the theme of the day, I guess.
NBC Sports, this is him. NBC Sports is as excited about the USFL as we are. Stay tuned. Also, you may want to tune into NASCAR Clash at the LA Coliseum. May want to tune in. I don't know. I think that wording says, hey, something might be there that you'll be curious about. Okay, if they play the restaurant again, cool. Like I think I'm almost expecting it. It's Fox's next big thing besides Daytona,
right?
That they'll want to start pumping up. I think the wording to me, and speculation zone still, that makes me think, okay, I'm going to get something new. I'm getting vibes that there is something here that I should be watching for. And honestly, it's going to be us going to be asking people, hey, is there something we should be watching?
Exactly.
Because that's going to probably happen after we're done recording.
For sure. And, so stay tuned because you may learn the answer. You may even learn the answer before this episode airs. But stay tuned if you don't, because we'll hopefully get the skinny. We got the skinny last week. We'll hopefully try to get the skinny this week. Mm-hmm. Now, if it is a new promo, this is my thoughts. This is my speculation. Okay. There's no going back from here. I think now that you got the 30-second promo, if it is a new one, I'm banking on another 30-second promo. But then, again, speculation zone, I don't know anything. It could easily be a 10-second promo. And quite honestly, I could see them rerunning a restaurant again. And we might even see both, right?
Sure.
But I'm curious.
I think they need to run the restaurant one more as they lead up. So, the Clash will be perfect time if you want to start revving it up. You got the promo 10 seconds, and the way this works, generally in rundowns for TV, I'm just adding this on again. This is my experience with how they lay out the ads. Mm-hmm. They'll do a bunch of the national ads and they'll generally throw in a few promos at the end of each ad break. Right. So the hope is they start cycling a few 10 seconds in there, maybe at the midway point of the race. This is going to be a weirder version because they're doing heats. It's not a straight 3-stage race like in NASCAR.
I see.
So the hope is maybe midway point or the back half of it, like they did with the NFC Championship game, they drop in the new one or drop in something that implies something new, along that line. That's the hope.
Yeah. I was actually
the
surprised we only did get, I guess we got 2 promos technically in that last game, but it was like the third quarter, right? Until we got the new one. There was a 1 second. There was a 1 second promo right before halftime. And I almost think that was probably due to, you know how sometimes the commercials overlap depending on the markets. It was probably something like that. So I don't know. But I know this. I was already planning on tuning in this Sunday, 6:00 to the Clash at the Coliseum. If you're interested, I mean, in NASCAR, you should be tuning in anyway, but if you're interested in seeing maybe a new USFL promo, tune in. You might get that. You might just get the same one as that you already had. So don't bank on that. I will say this, we will have an article about it, and if not, we'll be talking about it next week on the show. So another good reason to tune in every week, right?
Can we touch on it, Robert's first part of that whole thing? NBC Sports is excited about the USFL as we are. So I don't know, more speculation zone technically, but that Super Bowl guess of a promo does seem a little more logical when you have a guy still going, hey, they're excited. They're still planning on pumping this thing. You know, like we talked about in a previous show, the Chiron has it now, so they're doing stuff. The Olympics are coming up as of actually today.
They're on. I've been watching that curling, baby.
So, yeah, exactly.
Dude,
I've been
sweet.
seeing you posted about that curling. So they're going to, I mean, not saying they'll pump it in the Olympics, but Super Bowl is kind of around the corner. Next biggest event. Robert's connected.
I think so.
I think that the speculation zone's slowly for that fading into it's going to be a reality. Question is, you know, when, where, and what is it? How big is it?
Are we going to get a 10-second? Are we going to get a 30-second? I mean, I've thought this since the beginning. I think we'll get one for sure. Again, going back, this is my logic here. The XFL got one, yes, that makes sense. The XFL is kind of a big deal. The AAF got one. If the AAF got one and the XFL got one, and for crying out loud, they're doing a simulcast on Fox and NBC, I will be amazed if the USFL doesn't get one during the Super Bowl.
Do you remember we almost got a Marshawn Lynch AAF commercial, that whole story after the fact where it's like the whole, like, I think it was like 2,500 quarters or something like that. Or was it 25,000 quarters? Whatever amount of quarters he was offering. That story is still ingrained in my mind. Like every now and then I go back to it. I go, wow, of Super Bowl ads for spring leagues, we almost had that. And the demands were insane. And now we're here.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like, and I agree. Like if the AAF with its like, we're hobbling along money self behind the scenes can get us an ad on a network as well. I mean, how are you not at this point? Again,
I'll be surprised.
I just have to reemphasize it. You know, it's brought up. Robert's connected. He's obviously a Fox. They're NBC and them are talking in a pretty good collaborative mentions, if you will. I mean, it's getting there. The speculations are slowly starting to creep out of there.
I'm feeling it, and
Just
it's feeling good.
The official thing.
So, speaking of the Super Bowl, I mean, I'm excited about that. I know we're USFL, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about the Super Bowl. I don't care.
Talking about the big boys.
Dude, so we got Matty Stafford, this dude proving himself. It's always been the Lions, and Joe Burrow taking his own cat team. I mean, the Bengals are essentially the Lions. They both, the Lions and the Bengals, they were like, I think, tied for the last playoff win. And now it's just the Lions and maybe the Redskins. I don't know. There's another one down there with us. Oh, sorry.
You mean the Commanders?
God. Oh, jeez. It's been too many years for me to even call them that name.
Dodging bullets, man. Like,
oh my God, it's one of those days. So anyway, Matty Stafford, Joe Burrow, and I'll say this before I even give a prediction. This is the most likable Super Bowl. I mean, usually, I'm a Lions fan. Well, maybe not for everybody. But I'll say this. Okay. As a Lions fan, usually I watch the Super Bowl, and it always comes down to I root against whoever I hate the most, right? And so I'm like, okay. But I don't really have that here because, again, Matty Stafford was my boy, the bionic quarterback. I mean, he was broken and rebuilt at least 3 times in his tenure in Detroit and barely missed any games. Came over to L.A., proved that it was the Detroit Lions the whole time. I mean, I'll tell you this. If he would have lost that game, if he would have lost that first playoff game, every story this summer would have been, well, can Matty Stafford win a playoff game? We thought it was the Lions. Well, he didn't do it. This dude got to the Super Bowl his first year without a different team. And then on the flip side, you got Joe Burrow, a rookie in the Super Bowl. What?
a team I have said in other shows I thought was a year early, and I still am amazed that they got to this point. And the way they did it, I guess, as we're talking, going into my NFL mindset, just you come from behind for the second time against Kansas City. You lose the coin toss after coming from behind, which has been in the history of the playoffs. It's a 10-1, 10 wins to 1 loss is how many out of the 11 times it's happened. It's a kill shot.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow even showed it and has said it. They thought they were out. Mm-hmm. And you get an interception. You basically grind out a few first downs, and your cocky rookie kicker comes in after basically doing it last week and does it again.
I know.
And now you're here. And now I'm just like, I don't know what to think about it anymore, because I had the Rams as like borderline, if not pegged, to get to the Super Bowl. This team just says, screw it. We're doing it anyway.
Right. And I mean, they're pretty evenly stacked. I mean, the Rams have some problems on defense that they need to address. They need to really focus on some of those gaps. But man, I mean, Matty Stafford is the comeback kid. And I feel like they could, if presented with like 38-3, they could come back. They could outdo Tom Brady in the Patriots Atlanta game, right? Because Matt Stafford, we saw that 2 weeks ago with that comeback, running down the field. Come on, guys, come on. Which the ref never touched the ball. Hold on here real quick. The ref never touched the ball in that game. After that Dallas game, I'm amazed. I'm amazed every day that now every Cowboy fan is saying, hey, wait a minute. What about Matt Stafford in that ball? They ran down. So if you didn't know, everybody laugh at the Cowboys.
Oh, of course.
That's what you get. The refs, they just didn't even like you because they let Matty Stafford get away with it. But anyway, I think Matt Stafford's going to get it done. Joe Burrow, I mean, it's amazing to see that he's got to a Super Bowl his rookie year. I mean, I would say he probably needs more time, but I could be wrong. I mean, this game could go either way in my book. But who I want to win, I want the Rams to win just so Matty Stafford could go out there bionic quarterback style. Now, I mean, who are you taking though? I mean, it's hard for me.
Oh man, I'm kind of like doubting myself with the pick because I've been going against the Bengals this whole time, and I'm still going to do it just because the Rams went all in. Okay, I'm just going to put it that way. Yeah, it looked like a bit of a misstep after they put that tweet out. They lost 3 in a row, but they did go all in. They have the pieces that are working in harmony right now. It's a mostly healthy roster. And I don't see it. I think this is like almost a manifest destiny type of deal. Like the Rams were wanting to be here. I mean, think about it. They got that new stadium, and St. Louisans know very much how this is like, we have to prove this is going to work, guys. We overspent on the stadium by $3 billion. We left town. We lost the lawsuit that we had to settle for almost $1 billion with St. Louis. Let's get a win.
Right.
And so they were going to be here. Like hell or high water, they were going to drag this team here in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's just what's going to happen. I know this isn't entirely that level, but to me, I get the vibes of like an 2007 Patriots taking on like a Giants here. Not because it's undefeated, because the Rams aren't, but because it's like everything's stacked this way to where the Rams and the NFL want to see this, I think.
Right.
In general. And then you'll have the Bengals who are like, we shouldn't be here. We got here and we've made it work. We're going to make it keep working. I think this time, though, the Rams pull it off. They're going to get this W.
I mean, they better hope.
Too much. This is like in NBA terms. There's too much stacked talent on the other side for it to fail.
Right.
That's the thing. I think that the Bengals are going to be around for a while. They came here. I'm going to say it again, and I'll eat crow even more than I did last week. They're a year early to me. They got here. Burrow is a year early. The fact Jamar Chase came on this way, T. Higgins. That's all I got. But it's going to be a fun game. Give me the Rams. I'm leaving all those cards on the table, and this is the first show I'm doing a pick on. So the rest of the shows I'm on, including like for example, I do Belly Up Sports, and we're going to do a pregame show. That pick's staying. It ain't going away.
It better.
I don't back off on picks.
Good.
I don't do it. If I say it on a show, it sticks on a show.
That's what you say
It doesn't
until the alert comes out tomorrow. Matty Stafford, broken shoulder. You're like, oh, change the pick.
Let me check here again.
Yeah.
Oh, hell. Guess I'm changing it now.
People will be watching this tomorrow and your lips will be moving. I pick the Bengals, just over and over again in computer voice. I pick the Bengals.
Can our editor edit that out, please?
Anyway, it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited for it.
Should be a good one.
I'm looking forward to eating too much stuff. And, I mean, just another point on the Rams. They better hope they win because beyond all the money, beyond all the lawsuits, beyond all the stadium, whatever, blah, 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 dude, they have I don't think they have a first-round draft pick until 2024.
Yep.
And beyond that, they even gave away draft picks into the other rounds as well. I know the Lions got like a good chunk of those, but they were the Broncos got some for Von Miller, and I think they handed out they were just handing them out like candy. Take them. We want to win now. Doesn't always work that way, but I think it might work that way this time. But either way, that's our takes. Hopefully, let us know down in the comments, though. We want to hear, who do you think's going to win it? What quarterback?
Why not? Football's football.
Yeah.
I know you're going to be watching the Super Bowl. It's the biggest event it's the biggest television event of the year, and it's one of the biggest social events during the year. I imagine most of us on here will be watching the game anyway, so I would love to hear your picks too. Same, just like Stefan. Should be a good one, man. And like I said, we'll get hope. The thing is, USFL stuff's got to be there too. Like I said, the signs are pointing there. We're going to get the same excitement for that as well as getting to watch what should be a good game.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it.
I know people usually look forward to Super Bowl ads every year. The last couple of years, they've been a little soft. I'm looking forward to a USFL promo ad, something. We don't know if it's coming, but we're hoping.
Please.
So I think we move on. I think we kind of exhausted that. So we have the United Steelworkers. We heard about this. This happened just the day before this comes out.
Fascinating stuff. So this begins in a different portion. It's funny. You're probably thinking right now, United Steelworkers. What the hell does this have to do with football? Can we like someone's hitting the pause button? Like, what the hell is about to be said? Anyway. So the United Football Players Association, it is a non-for-profit started up by former Commanders running back, as well as former Seattle Dragons running back Kenneth Farrow, as well as other people that he is associated with that have been in the alt football scene or have been behind the scenes. They are essentially a non-for-profit 501c4 organization. That's what they describe themselves as on their website, that represents professional football players in North America, around the globe. They are not a union, but they advocate for players' rights, salary rights, and other compensation pieces, as well as for helping players get the resources they need to look into leagues like an XFL, a USFL, smaller leagues too. I've talked with Kenneth before, previously outside the show, arenas on the table as well. Mm-hmm. That they want to make sure players, after seeing some leagues like the XFL, the AAF, mostly the AAF really, go down in flames and leave people and players abandoned, which Kenneth was with the San Antonio Commanders, so he knows this very well. They're wanting to build something that is a resource outside the NFLPA that allows players that can't get in the NFL or are in leagues outside the NFL to do this. So what better way to help bolster that than get a very well-respected union that is in the U.S., the United Steelworkers is going to be backing them, is essentially what it is. We'll go through the whole press release here and kind of let you hear into this. Otherwise, we'll link it in our YouTube video here.
Yeah, we'll have a link down there. Yeah, let me read some excerpts from this here real quick. So, again, it starts out, United States Steelworkers today proudly announced its affiliation with the United Football Players Association, so the UFPA, founded in 2020. As again, I think they founded right after the XFL kind of folded, and that was
only a few months after.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It was only a few.
So founded in 2020, UFPA is composed of football players with experience in the National Football League, Arena League, League of American Football, XFL, Canadian Football League, and others. Now, it's funny. So, again, this press release was written by the United Steelworkers. I'm assuming the Arena League of American Football is supposed to be the AAF.
I think that might have been a typo. I know they put Arena League. I'm like, but there's multiple. We can get into semantics where it's like there's multiple. But yeah.
So together, the USW, United Steelworkers, and UFPA will fight to represent professional athletes in the United States Football League, XFL, and other potential leagues who are not covered by contracts like those in the NFL's Players Association, and win the benefits and protections of a union contract. So again, it's what we saw. We kind of saw this blow up a little bit over the summer with the CFL, right? There was kind of some murmurs that, well, if the CFL doesn't play, these guys were trying to come in there, help these guys out. I think they got some unnecessary blowback from some of the things they said, but these things are useful. I don't know how much the leagues would agree, but regardless, we need to keep everybody happy in these situations. But we have some quotes. So, labor, hours, and working conditions for players are areas where a union can make a difference in improving them. Will give everyone an opportunity to thrive. That's coming from Ryan Cave, who played 8 seasons of professional football and has been representing players for 10 years. From resolving issues with payroll to dealing with injuries and workers' compensation problems, players need a strong voice that the USW can help provide. So we're seeing the United Steelworkers essentially come in as a backbone for the UFPA, which... it seems like such a strange relationship. It really in name only. But once you get the steelworker piece out of it, you hit the nail on the head, no pun intended. But the fact that United Steelworkers is one of the largest unions in the country, right?
That's the big draw. Like this is to help guide this organization better, as well as what can we do to directly impact more. What here's our experience. How do you do this for workers and helping get what they need, or at least how you deal with certain aspects about this? A lot of it's just, for the UFPA, a lot of it's security. It's making sure players don't fall and have to deal with a bunch of this. But they know where to get the paperwork. They know how to get these resources. They aren't going to get lost. They've been dealing with, getting certain monies for the XFL with its bankruptcy for 2.0, that is, and try and make sure, here's the paperwork for that. The AAF hasn't even fully gotten through all its paperwork, last we heard.
Yeah.
So they're dealing with this stuff. They're trying to get players that have been, and I'm going to say, quote unquote, in my words, screwed by people, mostly the Alliance. The XFL did a pretty good job at clarifying things, but the AAF really royally pissed off a lot of people.
Right.
So this is mostly a response to that, and just seeing other leagues that they go 1 year, they go out. Kind of ties back to the USFL with Moose Johnson, where it's we need to build trust.
Right.
Go beyond a year. But this also gets the players' angle. It helps the players say, okay, we've been down this road. Here's what we need from you.
Right.
We need to know this, that, and the other. What are you doing to where it's we're not just going to sign up and get totally thrown to the curb because you didn't think this through at the end too. Right. A lot of elements. And the steelworkers, at least, it's a fighting for your position type of union and representation that this gets now.
Yeah, they know the ins and outs of it, right? They've been doing this for decades, right? And so, having that experience backing you is going to be a lot of help. But we have another quote here. So my experience of playing through injuries in between surgeries and assisting other players through several league bankruptcies showed that we cannot rely on the league to ensure our job security and financial stability. So this is coming from Kenneth Farrell, right? So as we spoke, he has experience in both the AAF and the XFL. Different reasons for their folding, but same outcome, same situations. And like you mentioned, the AAF, it's 3 years now, going almost 3 years since it folded. And there's a lot of guys that still haven't gotten paid. Guys that didn't get paid from the time that they were playing there, right? Keep in mind, they almost didn't make payroll in their second week. So there were some struggles in there already. So, you can't be mad at this. Again, there's everybody has their opinions on unions. But at the end of the day, if it's going to make sure that these players are taken care of, or maybe you have a better chance of being taken care of if something goes south, sign them up. Now, that being said, I don't think we have to worry about that, at least with the USFL for the first 3 years. The big reason, we talked about it over and over and over and over again. We beat the horse dead so many times, but that central location, right? That's gonna be huge for cost savings. It's going to be huge for the illness that we shall not mention. If something like that spikes again, or something different but similar, they kind of have their ducks in a row. They have the experience. And the good thing with Fox is they dealt with the XFL, then they dealt with the Spring League. And so they have a lot of different experience beyond working with the NFL for, ages now. They've revolutionized the NFL. People forget that. If it wasn't for Fox, we would not have scored. Well, we probably would by now, but we would not have scores as soon as we did on the screen throughout the
Oh yeah,
entire game.
they were a massive impact when they came on the scene in 1993. I think it was. It's kind of weird. Like they're still the newest player in the NFL for that,
Right.
but yet they're the ones that they made the biggest splash. Like still to this day, there are some people that they'll talk about, especially in you talk about documentaries or things like that. When Fox came on and booted CBS from their contract, out of the blue,
Right.
that made a big shockwave.
For sure.
When they had to renegotiate. It was big.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, and they made something out of it. So hopefully we'll see the same with the USFL, right? Fox, maybe they got that magic touch. We're getting a little bit off topic here, but I mean, all in all, like I said, I can't be mad at this news. I can't be mad that there's people out there fighting for the players that we all enjoy watching because, I mean, for the third or fourth week straight, I'm going to bring him up. Todd Berkovici, is that his name? Todd?
Mm-hmm.
I got the name
Mark
right.
Berkovici.
Mark Berkovici. I got the last name right in the first name. Mark Berkovici. Those situations, they're going to happen, right? They're going to happen. I mean, they happen in the NFL. You can't expect them not to happen in the spring leagues. And so having groups like this around are going to ensure that those guys are taken care of after the fact, right? Because, I mean, realistically, all it takes is one good hit to make sure you never play again, right? This is they're making it safer, but just like any contact sport, things happen. And so I love seeing things like this. And, I mean, let's be honest here. Although I don't think it's going to happen with the USFL, we did watch the last two major every major spring football company that's come around fail. Whatever the reason, right? Including the old USFL. Again,
right.
Whatever the reason. We're not going to talk about that here because I feel like some people might get heated if you get it might be a huge argument. That's all I'll say.
No, I totally understand. I understand entirely. Yes.
So we'll step away from that one.
Back off just a second.
So
I feel you.
I mean, all in all, I'll take it.
Final thing is just simple. I like having representation where it holds something accountable. Because it's the experimentation of leagues is great, and getting that early access and just like getting that first step is nice. But a lot of these leagues have proven that so far that they haven't stayed around. So players do unfortunately get the short end of the stick eventually in a lot of them. So having that to back is great. I want to see something grow like that. The UFPA is a great start. Getting something like the United Steelworkers, which has been around since the 30s, when unions started really popularizing back in the day, and it's been one of the most pronounced ones. That's a great piece to have in your corner.
Absolutely.
So I can tell you.
So I think we dried that well. So we're gonna move into the mailbag. We got a couple questions, and we have our first voicemail. But before we get to the voicemail, let's go to the questions here. So we got one. This one comes via our email. So mailbag@usflcast.com. But if you want to have your question answered, or at least the opportunity to, we can't get through them all. There's a couple ways to do it. You can leave your question down in the comments below. You can email us at mailbag@usflcast.com, or you can go to usflcast.com, scroll all the way down, and leave us a voicemail. And like I said, we got our first this week, and I'm excited about that. But first question, this comes from Brian Denton via email. Will the draft be televised? Any speculation, which I must say, I think we do pretty good. Any word on that? Now, I mean, I think we talked about this before. I don't think we're getting it televised. I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's going to be televised. I don't think it's going to be streamed. And if I were to say, again, so what I want to do here, just because I think we've talked about this before, let's expand it out. Will we see it televised in the first 3 years? I'm going to do you one better. I don't think we see it season 1. It's maybe more likely that we see it season 2, but I don't think we see it then. But I think the likelihood, if we see it in season 3, increases dramatically, right? Especially because that third season, if all goes to plan, we're going to start seeing those teams move into their respective cities. I think the USFL is going to want to drum up attention in those markets and just have more content out there for people to say, oh, the USFL's around. Or, oh, hey, look, my team is actually in my city now. And we got this guy or whatever, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's my take on it. I'm curious. You feel the same? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's not. I'll tell you, I don't think it gets televised this year. Again, they're doing so much in crunch right now to get this ready, and people, of course, it's been a big knock for some of those that are detractors. Is it's been a tight turnaround. I get that. I respect that take. Nonetheless, I look at this. No, not this year. I'm just going to say a flat no. I don't think it happens. Just get it done with. Get your players in. Make sure the football's good, and then next year, with Fox having the TV or NBC having the TV, whichever one you want to do it, or do a simulcast. Have fun with it like you did with the opening week. Why not simulcast the draft? That's my pitch.
So here's my take on it. I would actually, I don't know if I would dial it down, but I think there's a good opportunity there. So instead of a simulcast, I could see a situation where maybe it's a simul stream, if that's the word, because we have Peacock TV, right?
Oh, there you go.
And then we have the Fox Now app. Right. And I know both of them, they kind of see the writing on the wall. People are turning off the TVs. People are cutting the cord. You and I are both cord cutters here. So
we are.
Sorry, Fox. Sorry, USFL parent company. But we cut the cord. And it's too dang expensive. It's a good thing that these games are, for the most part, on broadcast television. And the ones that aren't, you can get them Peacock and a couple other places. But I see a perfect opportunity. Let's get some extra content for these streaming services. And again, not year one. Too much and too little time. Nothing against the XFL. They did what they could. But if they put something like the XFL did on TV, it would be worse than if they did nothing at all. Now, the XFL streaming it, I think it's forgivable. I think it's fine. Nothing against the people who set it up, because I think they're fine people. But there's like that give and take, or that middle ground. Yes, you might want to do it, but if it doesn't look professional, it's only going to hurt you. Look at the announcement fumble, if what we'll call it, from a couple weeks ago. That's all that people could talk about. But once we got those last two coaches, everybody shut up about it, right? But now here's the thing. You don't want more of those. You don't want another situation to get the peanut gallery going online. And I don't know. I just don't think we get it year one.
Keep it the steady march. I don't think deviating too far, unless they have this in the card. If they have it in the cards from the beginning, okay, that throws it out of the loop. Like I'm not having in Fox's circle 24/7. You're not far either. So who knows if they did, but this just seems too tight. Like, I think that you just want the baseline of what you're going to get, let the coaches coach, and get a good product out there, promote the product, and then next year you can focus on, hey, we have a draft. Hey, we have this extra stuff we do on the side. That's a year two thing, which I think Moose Johnson would even agree. Like, let's get through. He said it already. He keeps hammering this point home, and I love that he's doing it. Let's get through year one. Because he's right. He's absolutely freaking right. I cannot say that enough, how true that statement is.
Well, he mentioned that in an interview this week, and I think he put it the perfect way. Year one is about getting on the ground. Year two is about being good. And year three is being great. Right?
Yeah.
And I love it.
I liked from that interview that he's also welcoming competition, which he should. That's unavoidable. The XFL's around the corner. So...
And he worked for them too. So, yeah. Daryl Johnston's one of those dudes. If there's another spring league that comes around, if for whatever reason the USFL is not around, I fully expect him to be there. Now, I'll say, remember, there was almost a break online. The world kind of went mad for about 3 minutes the day of that interview, because prior to, I can't remember what show he was on. So excuse me, I apologize. But they put a promo out on it, and they listed him as the USFL commissioner.
Oh, yes.
And everybody's like, people are pinging me. They're like, oh, my God, do you know this? I'm like, I even said, I wouldn't doubt if it's a typo. I'm just going to say, if this is a Fox thing, maybe that's, it seems like it was just a typo. So if you saw that, it seems like it, but maybe there's something we don't know. If it seems like Brian Woods is going to be taking on that commissioner role here, but he is the EVP to football operations. So probably a mix between Brian. So essentially he might kind of be anyway. So, but technically he's not.
You have, tell you what, you want to do one more? Cause I like this question and, David Kaczynski there, I love your stuff, man. Here's one I really like. And this is one of those you and I can discuss here. Would you rather have 2 to 3 big names in an alternative football league on each team? I'm adding the league part of this question on, or a well-rounded team or roster. If you could only choose one of these options, that's part of the question as well.
Okay.
Because this is a debatable thing.
Right.
It's been rumored that 5 or 6 recognizable guys per team will be in the USFL per team when the draft selection happens. Do you want the recognizability, or do you just want a well-rounded, good running operation?
I have a super simple, easy answer for that. I want a well-rounded team. I mean, when you look at the original XFL and you compared before the game started playing the Dallas Renegades and the Houston Roughnecks, everybody expected that the Dallas Renegades were going to be the Texas team, right? You had Bob Stoops and you had the named quarterback with Landry Jones. Now, nothing against June Jones or PJ Walker. People may have known June Jones, but there was a lot less people that remember PJ Walker from his college days, right? And there may be some that from the maybe 1 or 2 games that he had played in, but he was mainly a practice squad guy for the Colts. But when you compared him after they start playing, Roughnecks all day and night. And I mean, you got Cam Walker, you got Cam Phillips. You had so many guys on there that before the season started, a lot of people probably didn't know who they were. After the season started, everybody knew who those guys were. And I mean, undefeated. So that's my take, but I had a very easy, relatable reason because I was here firsthand for those Roughnecks wins that you could see how easy it is for, oh, here's the big name coach. But here are the guys that you didn't know that are the stars.
Yes. And I'm similar vein. I know that this is argumentative. Now I'm going to put out the point. I'll put it out here for the sake of it. Okay. If we're talking casual audience exposure. This is with every one of these leagues. The diehard, I'll say this with, like I've said before, the diehard football fans, they will come unless you piss off the diehard football fans. If you find some way to get them mad, okay, maybe they don't come. But for the most part, they see a football league, they want to see more football, they're going to come.
Right.
The casual guy, that's what you want. So the argument for the casual guy is they look for names. So that's the argument for the 2 to 3 big names. So I can see why you'd make the argument. Yeah, it's a big draw. People going, oh my God, like Landry Jones, like you're talking like that. Or honestly, here's the other one. You're talking about the Houston Roughnecks. Everyone forgets that Connor Cook was the Roughnecks. He was in the promos. He was the guy that was being promoted for the league when the XFL was launching up. It wasn't PJ Walker.
Right.
And so they were leaning on, here's our big name talent. Here's our Power 5 talent, our familiar faces. And so I get that. You know, people recognize that instantly, especially if you're in those markets. But the magic of spring football lies with the rough gems, lies with the teams that did come together, make a good product, because at the end of the day, even casual fans, they want something fun.
Right. And
the only way you can get that is if these teams know what the hell they're doing. So you can get as many big names as you want, but I need a good football team.
Right.
That's as simple as that. So that's why I lean that way. I'm just mentioning this is why some people this is why we still see the big names in the advertisements, because that's what people go, oh,
for sure,
tweet about it.
Well, I mean, you make a very valid point that we've seen time and time again with one name, Johnny Manziel, Mr. Football,
there he is.
Whatever his name is, with the iron, with the CFL, with fan-controlled football. Never made it to the XFL. Oliver Luck, he said, no, get out of here.
Yes.
I'm not going to talk trash about Manziel because, I mean, there is a chance he ends up in the USFL. I'm not going to say there isn't.
It's slight,
and it
but
could be for the Houston team. So I can't, because I'll tell you this: if he comes to the Houston team, day one, I'm a Manziel fan. I'm Mr. Moneybags. I'm going to be throwing out the money, doing all of this. You guys are going to hate me. I'm going to be the Colin Cowherd of Johnny Manziel.
If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see me do this. You are going to be doing the money signs.
Oh yeah,
seriously,
sign me up.
Oh, there it goes there too. Now we both have it. Jesus Christ. What? Fine. He's gambling. I get it.
Hell yeah.
There's some promo there.
If there's one man that can keep that man in line, it's Kevin Sumlin.
It's his college football coach.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, I'm preparing myself because what am I going to do, Zach, man? What if I talk about what if I Mark Trestman style Manziel? And then 3 weeks from now, here he is leading my team. I can't switch teams. I mean, I supported the Lions with like the worst of the worst on their team. I would have to give Mr. Manziel a chance. So if you're listening, Manziel, we like you. I think you're a cool guy. Sign us up, But if you're not on the if you're not on the Gamblers, I'm probably going to start talking trash about
Look,
you again. I'm sorry.
Look, I'm going to say it again as well. You should be building an altar. It'll be like praying for Chad Kelly to be drafted. Like I said, get Jim Kelly's nephew on that team and then hype the hell out of it because he's related to Jim Kelly. That's what you got. That's what I'd do.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
This is, if I was a marketing guy, if I had that degree, I'd be like, I'd be in someone's, you're like, dude, just pick up Chad Kelly. Like, it's okay. You'll make it work, You
saw that's my prediction for the first pick in the draft.
Yes, I did.
So if you saw it online on USFL podcast, that was me. I don't want to speak for Zach, so he might agree. I don't know. That's my prediction. Chad Kelly, number 1. Again, we don't know who's in the draft pool, so there may be somebody that I would look at it if I saw the list and say, okay, maybe not Chad Kelly, but that is my prediction for now. If anything, for the name value alone, and God, please let the Gamblers have the first pick. That's all we can ask for.
There you go.
So I think we move into our first voicemail. So we got, this comes from Jack Stevens. He's a longtime fan of the Newsroom brand. I mean, this dude's pinged me on Facebook. He's pinged me on Twitter. He's pinged me everywhere. I apologize. I don't ever answer my DMs, so I'm sorry. But we will listen to your voicemail. So we're going to switch over to that right now.
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm a big fan, and I can't wait for the USFL to start. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jack Stevens. Thanks for being the guy. Thanks for being the one to drop us our first voicemail. We really appreciate you listening. Like I said, I appreciate you being a fan of our stuff for years now. But this is just a reminder for everybody else listening. Make sure you go over to usflcast.com. Yeah, you can fill out the form. Yeah, you can send us an email. But if you're feeling like a cool kid like Jack Stevens, click the button, leave us a voicemail, and hey, maybe even leave us a question in there as well. We're looking forward to it. I want to hear some more.
Absolutely. Remember, you can leave either via the email, via our YouTube comments. If you join the Discord for Pro Football Newsroom 2, we have a questions section just exclusively for the show. You can drop that in. We read that as well. We actually had someone ask about if Donald Trump will be back. I'm going to say probably no. I'll just throw that.
I don't think so.
But yeah. So you have avenues, and trust me, if our buddy Jack using that voicemail one, I've tested it out before him. It's kind of cool. Like, that's a really awesome extension that I wish I would have known about when I started podcasting.
For sure.
Myself.
For sure.
So
yeah. I mean, technology is getting better every day. Sooner or later, we're going to be doing VR questions. I'm super excited about that, man. The metaverse.
Better start saving my money.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, this is another long prediction. Nothing about football, but you watch 5-10 years from now, people are going to be going to virtual audiences and watching sports, and more importantly, watching podcasts like this. Imagine a situation where you and I are both in VR. We have our avatars. We're on stage, and there's a crowd of assigned seating where people can't just walk around. Maybe, and you can mute the people, but maybe you can hear around you, like proximity chat style. It's coming, and if I was good enough at developing it, I would develop it now. But wait. If we're doing this, Zach, if the USFL is still around in 5 years and we're still doing this podcast for 5 years, and that happens, get ready, folks. We're going VR. But until then, that's a whole, we're talking about crazy stuff.
That's an out for me in the episode. I'm done. I'm done.
So, I think that's about it. I think we covered everything that we could. But before we go, you brought up a good point, the Discord. Make sure you click the link down in the description below. Join a bunch of like-minded spring football fans just like myself and Zach. And like I said, we're there as well. So if you want any questions, you can maybe get a real-time answer as well. Make sure you follow us on social media at USFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, don't just hit subscribe. Click the bell. It builds morale. And make sure you follow us personally over on Twitter at The Ref Says, at Zach Kyleman, at Grid Gallery Pod. I think that's it. That was a long-winded outro. I don't know. Anything to end it off with, buddy?
100%. You did great. Magnificent.
That's what I like to hear. Well, until next time, guys, sign you up. Tune in every Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be fun.